Suppose you transfer some amount of money from your bank account to someone else. And then transfer same amount of bitcoins from your wallet to the other. What is the difference between these two transactions? Well, the transaction is almost same. There is not any additional benefits you get from Bitcoin. In fact, Bitcoin takes around 10 minutes to verify your transaction, than traditional currency, which is done in milliseconds. So, why would anyone use Bitcoin for transaction anyway? The point of Bitcoin is not about what happens in front, but what happens back when you transfer money. When you transfer money from your bank account, the bank manages a ledger of your account and deduct money from it, and add to the ledger to one you gave money. But who manages the crypto transaction? Most people think that Bitcoin is the digital currency that you just transfer, but that's actually called a token. The blockchain, on the other hand, is about the transaction, then the currency. When a Bitcoin transaction happens, the transaction is first gets to the miners. The miners record the transactions around the whole Bitcoin network, and create a block for every 10 minutes. Then the block is sent to the nodes. Nodes stores every block in the history of Bitcoin, creating a chain. Hence, it is called as blockchain. Miners, most of you may know, are rewarded for the work they do with new tokens. But nodes don't. The people who run a node just have only one incentive of keeping the network running. Node also is not that energy consuming as mining. In fact, if you want to run a node on your computer, you can just download the Bitcoin Core, which takes only 7 gigabytes on your disk and an active internet connection to run. Miners and nodes made the whole Bitcoin network. Without them, there will be no Bitcoin. If any changes have to be made in the network, then all miners and nodes need to be agreed on it. It's called a fork. If the network wanted to have some major changes, then majority of the nodes and miners should upgrade to the newer version of the Bitcoin. Those who don't want to join it creates their own different blockchain. This is called as hard fork. On the other hand, if some minor changes have to be made in the network, then majority of the miners need to upgrade to the newer version. It's called as a soft fork. Here the rest of the miners can still work, as the update is backwards compatible. So if miners and nodes controls the blockchain, then what if they use it for their profits? Like fake a transaction or not to record a transaction. That's where it starts to get fascinating. In our traditional banking system, the government and bank need to take care that everything is legit. In the blockchain, the other nodes will maintain it. All the nodes in the network are like to check with each other continuously that their blockchain matches with others. If someone tries to fake the block, then the other nodes will just refuse it from the network. There is one way to actually break the blockchain, which is called as the 51% attack. If a miner or group of miners manages to achieve more than 50% of the mining power in the network, then they can actually manipulate the blockchain. But it is practically impossible for anyone to achieve that much power in the major cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because as the mining in the world increases, the mining algorithm which miners need to solve get harder and harder. Like in the early years of the Bitcoin, a personal computer were more than enough for mining. But today, mining is done by massive rigs of computers. The 51% attack is done mostly on smaller cryptocurrency. So what about fork? In 2016, around $50 million worth of tokens was hacked from an Ethereum network. That was the first time when Ethereum got to a major hard fork, to reverse the theft. The network was split into two, one with the upgraded Ethereum and the original as Ethereum Classic. This is a hard fork where the majority accepts the change. But most of the time the changes are not accepted. For example, the first major Bitcoin fork was in 2017, forming Bitcoin Cash. This was never meant to be an upgrade for the Bitcoin. In fact, this fork was done basically to make a better version of Bitcoin, by increasing the block size from 1 megabyte to 8 megabytes. At that time, the whole crypto community was divided into three groups. One who thought the Bitcoin Cash would take over the world. One who thought Bitcoin remain at the top, and the rest thought both will be destroyed in the process. Now, if you are watching this video, then you know what happened. Forks like this happen basically for a money grab. If you are able to create enough hype about your new currency, that will increase the value of that new currency. Bitcoin Cash once was at the top 5 of the biggest cryptos. But now it's down to 30. So, what about Satoshi? Satoshi Nakamoto is the name given to the creator of the Bitcoin. Because that was the name written in the original Bitcoin white paper. He doesn't have any special powers in the network. Other than, he owns over 5% of Bitcoins. Does owning that much of Bitcoins makes any difference? If the Bitcoin network is changed from proof of work to proof of stake mechanism. In simple words, if Bitcoin move from miners to the stakeholders, stakeholders can be anyone who holds Bitcoin. Even then, 5% wouldn't be enough to take full control of the network. In fact, it is practically impossible for anyone to get full control on the Bitcoin. That's the thing which makes a Bitcoin transaction different from the traditional transaction. It's not that Bitcoin is totally digital, or it's more secured, or it can be used as one currency around the world that makes it different. This all things can be achieved by the traditional currency. The most important difference is traditional currency is always going to be controlled by something. Bitcoin, on the other hand, run and maintained by hundreds of thousands of computers around the world, so the power is divided to so many people that no one can control it.